We are live. Welcome everybody to episode 9 of Two Sweet Converse. We're getting a little up close and personal with you. I am Nico. What's up?
Hey everyone, Steve-O here.
What up? Wildcard here.
EJV here. Watch Talking Shop on Podcast 1.
Can you stop promoting other podcasts? We gotta get our own out there. Promoting others. What is wrong with you?
Hey, those are good brothers. Let's go ahead, Steve. Let's keep going with those topics, man.
Normally, yes, they're good brothers, and normally we would catch a brother, but those brothers ain't catching us when we need to get our names out there. So let's stop that right now. Okay, moving on.
Let's catch 100 views this weekend. Last week was at 25. Let's get 100. Let's catch 100.
Yeah, let's jump 75 out of nowhere. Even though 24 of the 25 views were me and my mother, but that's a different story for a different day.
Alrighty, well, starting it off, we're gonna talk about a hot topic that's always going on. It's something that most of us wrestling fans enjoy most. It's gonna be AEW versus NXT to open this week's podcast in the Wednesday Night Wars. What we want to talk about is what our personal favorite show is of the Wednesday programming. What if we have an exact preference? Which one we normally watch live first, and then also just talk about like our opinions on just the shows and how NXT's been since it's gone 2 hours and has moved to USA Network. And also a recent breaking story is that Vince McMahon might get more involved in NXT. So we're just going to talk about that as a whole. So, gentlemen, who would like to start this topic off first?
I'll go ahead.
Let me go first. That way I can put my phone down and take breaks because I'm in the middle of holding my phone.
Deal.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, this is how I look at it. Despite what the ratings say on TV every single week, I do not look at this as competition. And the reason why is because wrestling is wrestling. Back in the day, what did we have to do? We had at least what I had to do. I had one TV on Raw. I had one TV on Nitro. Nowadays, we got these brand new things. They're called DVRs. Or if you got a TiVo and you're retro and you're cool, that's cool too. You can easily record both shows. You don't have to choose. The fact that everyone's like, oh, it's a war. Are you NXT or AEW? No, it's not. It's just wrestling. Whichever wrestling show you prefer, that's totally fine. You like AEW? Great. You like AEW. You like NXT? Great. You like NXT. Both shows have things that I love. Both shows have things that I hate. You guys already know. What are the things I love about AEW? Britt Baker and whatever they got going on with Moxley. And usually when they had the Lucha Brothers and Pac, they were on fire in AEW. What are some things I hate about AEW? Orange Cassidy constantly putting his hand in his pockets. But finally, after this week, they gave him a little bit more character where he actually stood up for himself and he actually fought somebody. I originally wasn't a fan of the Dark Order with AEW, but now after what they pulled last night, because as we're recording it, it's Thursday, I'm a little bit intrigued with what the Dark Order is doing. For once. But to my initial point here, there doesn't need to be a whole war of are you AEW or are you NXT. Keep in mind, NXT is WWE's third choice, so I don't even really look at this as a war when you're AEW and you're going up against their third show, if that makes any sense. NXT will always be the WWE's third show. I don't care what you say. Oh, NXT's got the better wrestlers. NXT has better wrestling. NXT does more wrestling, etc., etc. Shut up. NXT is never going to surpass the importance, money-wise and business-wise, as Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown does. It's never going to happen. Stop it. If you keep saying, oh my God, NXT's so better than the main roster. Shut up. No, because this is business. And at the end of the day, Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown is what brings in the bigger business for the company. Until the value of a dollar becomes obsolete, I don't want to hear that conversation. So my thing is this. AEW is great. NXT is great. Stop with the competition. Just enjoy wrestling. Okay, I'm done. Bye.
All right. Who would like to take this one next? EJV?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Nico's sentiment. I don't look at this as a war between two shows. I mean, you can look at it through the ratings as a war, through the numbers. But I'm the type of person that, yeah, I look at the numbers, but that doesn't determine what show is better. To me, there are many factors: the wrestling, the storylines, the overall competitiveness, the overall athleticism of the competitors, and are we building excuse me, are we building this brand the proper way? And AEW, yes, they won 31 weeks out of the past 38. That's there's no doubt, because they've had to be the better wrestling show, whereas NXT has had just a better show in general, with storylines and all different sorts of other factors. But to me, I mean, I like both shows. I can't say that I prefer one over the other, because I watch both religiously every week. I work a midnight shift at a grocery store, so I don't get to watch both shows live at all. I catch them the next morning when I get off work. I don't read the results either, so that way I'm still surprised on what happens. To me, the fans, like Nico said, don't need to be arguing about which show's better. AEW's better because of blah blah blah. It's not about that. We as fans should enjoy both programs that we're getting, because we haven't had great shows like this up against each other since Nitro and Monday Night Raw back in the 90s. This is something that we should be enjoying and taking great pride in, and actually just taking it in as a whole, because who knows if we're ever going to see something like this again. You know, this may be the last time we have a competitive show two competitive shows at this level, with this much talent and this great storylines and great overall wrestling. So to me, I can't really pick one off the top of my head, just because of the difference. Where NXT is more about the storylines and the development of the story within the characters. AEW is more about the competitiveness, the competition. So I really can't pick. I like both shows, and that's where I stand about that.
All right, Wildcard, what's your take?
Well, the thing is, it's like you gotta take into appreciation that wrestling is actually exciting right now, especially on Wednesday nights. It's just like Ezra said, you know, we haven't had any moments like this where we would have like different wrestling shows of different companies going on a one-on-one aspect of it, just like in the Monday Night Wars. I mean, this is something almost like a throwback to that. You know, for me personally, you know, I'm with the rest of the guys on this one. Who cares? Like whether I choose you choose AEW or NXT, because they both provide a very good quality show in their own ways. You know, the storylines for NXT have been, you know, amazing for the most part. I like AEW for the wrestling aspect, because they've been able to put on amazing matches there too. Especially you get an opportunity to see a lot of different talent that you don't necessarily get to see very often on a regular basis. Case being, you know, I'm still thinking about the Cody match with Mark Quinn. I mean, it's not very often that you see Cody, you know, wrestle one half of Private Party. I thought that was pretty awesome, and then they put on a really good match too. But you know, I like NXT as well, just because, like I said, the storyline's actually been really good. The wrestling's still great too. I mean, there's no question that NXT provides a very good product. You know, it just interests me that you know, some people would like go into this whole fan war thing. It's like, oh, NXT is better for this. Oh, AEW is better for this. Why? Why are you going into this war? Why are you just killing yourself trying to make yourself superior when both shows are actually really good quality shows? So just to really sum it all up, just enjoy both shows. If you have to go back and forth between the two, which is something that I do regularly, do that. because that wrestling is supposed to be fun. And right now, Wednesday nights have been a hell of a lot of fun. So right now, I'm enjoying both shows for their own unique ways.
Okay, yeah. So going on to my takes, yes, if you have a DVR, record both shows. Definitely do that. I do run into an unfortunate problem because I'm also a fan of a non-wrestling program that's on Wednesday nights called The Goldbergs during the fall season. So I have to choose, okay, 3 shows. My DVR will only record 2 shows. So I'm sorry, NXT, Goldbergs, AEW wins. But anyways, both are great shows. I don't like that Vince McMahon pretty much put NXT on Wednesday nights to try to sabotage AEW, because clearly that's what they were doing. And it has failed in flying colors. But yeah, so in short, I like them both. They're both great shows. NXT has a lot of great talented individuals, lots of great matches on there. We're going to be seeing some exciting matches in a few weeks, like with the triple threat for the North American title, followed by a title versus title match on July 8th to give you some hot competition with the Fyter Fest that's going to be going on soon after. But yeah, my personal preference watching live first is AEW, just because, well, at least starting off when they were, starting off the competition, they were able to go to arenas. AEW looked leaps and bounds better in terms of production because it was in big stadiums rather than NXT being in Full Sail University. But yeah, it's just you're having the top show of one promotion compete with the third brand of another promotion. So clearly, there's gonna be different expectations. But I mean, both shows deliver in their own ways. Not every episode of Dynamite's perfect. I mean, the women's division for a while was kind of suffering. And then the Dark Order, it took me a while to get into them. Even now, I'm not the biggest fan of them, but they have improved. But yeah, my take in short is just, watch them both. I prefer watching AEW live. I do try to flip the channels when I can. And right now, because Goldberg's is in the off season, I'm gonna be recording NXT too, because when I try to watch NXT next day on WWE Network, it's not up right at the times I try to watch it. So, in short, great shows. I try to keep up with both. I'm gonna try to sometimes I watch a video review from Aaron Rift. Essentially, it shows you, he gives a review of both shows, let you know what he thinks. But I'm like, I gotta catch this segment, I will do that on NXT. But in short, enjoy both shows for what they are. But before we get to the next topic, I do want to ask you guys, what's your take if Vince McMahon gets involved in NXT?
I'm fine with it. I mean, I know people are like, oh my God, Vince is lost it. Vince is too old. Vince doesn't get it, etc., etc. Shut up. The man has been on top of the industry for a reason for as long as he has. I don't see any drastic change. If anything, I think Vince paying attention more is better for NXT. The reason why I say that is because he can devote more time and more money to that brand. So I think Vince focusing a little bit more, I think that's only better for NXT as a brand, because you have the boss actually paying attention to your product and what you're trying to convey, not only for your product, but to the entire industry, so to speak. And another thing to kind of add, so like what everyone was saying, again, guys, we don't have to choose here. You don't. If anything, just choose one thing. When it comes to the main event, because both shows end at the exact same time, it's like, what main event do you want to choose? I'll admit, this week I chose the NXT main event over the AEW main event, mainly because I wanted to see, is anything going to happen more with the story between Bayley and Sasha. If you saw NXT, nothing didn't really happen except, they had a run-in with Io. Okay, cool. Maybe there's something there in the future. I caught the only thing of importance out of the AEW main event with Orange Cassidy, being the camera guy, and him fighting Jericho all of a sudden. Okay, cool. But it's like, to me, it's like, you don't have to choose anymore, guys. You don't. AEW is going to be fine because they're AEW. They're still the shiny new toy. So they're going to be NXT probably at least another 10 times out of this year here, going into September of this year or October, whatever. So, but like, you don't have to choose anymore, basically, guys. You don't.
Who'd like to share their thoughts next about Vince McMahon getting involved? EJB?
I'll go. Yeah. Oh yeah. E can go here.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Andy. Wildcard.
Yep.
To me, everybody just needs to kind of just take a seat and relax here. I don't think Vince is going to make any drastic changes to NXT at all. Because I think Vince knows, even though he could be kind of a control freak from instances in the past about the product, I think he's going to let Triple H do what he wants to do and let him run the show the way he wants to do. Vince will plug in, his ideas, give some insight to help Triple H out, maybe improve, whether it be maybe the story aspect of it, depending on what the story is involving the competitors in the ring, maybe come up with an idea that could possibly help a new talent. But I think overall Triple H is going to be the man who's still running the show, still running the brand. Vince is going to have his input, but I don't see no drastic changes at all coming to NXT for the foreseeable future. I just feel like it's running so strong right now that we don't need that. I think that we don't need Vince to make any sort of big changes to where it's too similar to Raw or SmackDown. I think NXT is its own entity because of the kind of the independent wrestling style that we see in on the show every week, every Wednesday, and that's what makes it so different from Raw and SmackDown, which is more of a kind of a soap opera produced show, where NXT is more kind of like an independent show. But yeah, I just see Triple H still reign supreme while Vince gives his ideas on the side to kind of help out the show.
Go for a wild card.
All right. When I first heard about the news being broke out about that, I'll be honest, I thought the worst. That was like my initial reaction, just because, we all know about, Vince McMahon and the fact that, his ideas aren't necessarily, the way of what fans want to see right now, because we all know about this is good shit type stuff, I mean, that seems to be the route that Vince seems to be taking right now. He has like a lot of different crazy stuff that goes through his head that doesn't necessarily translate into anything good, at least into his mind it is. But and the thing about NXT is that like the rest of the guys said, it's very unique. It provides a very good independent wrestling feel to it, which makes sense because a lot of the guys on the roster were on the independent scene, so they know about that. So this is in a way like WWE's version of independent wrestling, so in a much larger scale. And that's what I really enjoy about NXT, because it brought something very unique that Raw and SmackDown just didn't necessarily bring to the table. It was basically like their alternative in a sense, because they provide like not only good storylines there too, but quality wrestling. So I mean, I think that Triple H will have some say in it, because essentially NXT is his brainchild after all, and I don't think that Vince is going to have like complete control over the show itself, even though they say otherwise. But I don't think Triple H is just going to let him like just take over everything just with the snap of the finger. I think that he will have some creative control still, and I still think that NXT is still going to provide a quality show, whether or not Vince takes the reins or not, because of the talent pool it has.
Yeah, likewise. With you guys mentioning it, like, as long as Vince isn't like fully involved and just sending Triple H out the door, I think NXT will be okay in the long run. I mean, it's clear that he's not satisfied with how it's performing. I mean, if I would say, if anything, they should just put it on Thursday or Tuesday night. But I mean, that's a whole different topic. But just in short, I just wish that, you know, it would probably be better if it wasn't like the sole purpose was to compete with AEW. I mean, they do bring out the goods in each other, but like just the purpose of what they were trying to do originally just drives me a little nuts. But in short, just I think that as long as Vince McMahon's not, okay, let's have Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman and like all these world champions, or just doesn't flood NXT with main roster stars, I think it'll be okay. Every now and then, like the women's tag team champions, that's fine. I did appreciate them trying to do have Charlotte Flair on NXT. I thought that was a good thing. Like, you know, just try to bring more eyes to the brand. But as long as we don't get a whole influx of it, they tried that with WWE's ECW back in the day because of the fallen ratings. They would have Cena, Undertaker, etc. on the show. I don't want to see stuff like that. As long as they keep NXT mostly as it is right now, I'll be satisfied. Just, you know, and even I've noticed like with some of the promos, I think they're trying to do like a little sports entertainment. Like last night they had the Undisputed Era therapy session. That kind of reminded me of something you'd see on the main roster. But, you know, as long as you keep that stuff kind of limited and don't try to have it overtake the show, I think NXT will be fine in the long run, Vince McMahon or not.
Just to add on to that, you know, the whole Undisputed Era segment, I thought that was interesting. It kind of provided another dimension to Undisputed Era because, you know, we all know how much awesome they are and how much they're badasses. But it provided a nice comedic feel to it, so it gave them a little bit more dimension to their character. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it working both ways, but yeah, I don't know. That's it was interesting to see that though.
Yeah, right.
But,
Yeah. Hey, real quick,
yeah.
to reiterate what you're saying, I feel like WWE panicked with the whole Charlotte Flair thing. I think they should have kept the belt on her a little bit longer. I'm happy Io is the women's champion. I know I mentioned this last week, but I still think they could have built up other stars like a Tegan Nox or even a Shotzi Blackheart. I know they tried them with a tag team yesterday, but I kind of feel like they rushed the Charlotte experiment and ended it too quickly. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and that might be so. My guess, though, again, is probably the ratings because we didn't see like too huge a boost when Charlotte went on, but I don't know. That's just my personal take. Is there anything else you guys want to add on before we move to the next topic, or? Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. It was from this past Sunday at Backlash. The greatest wrestling match ever happened on Sunday, and we've been seeing a mix of reviews of it. Like some people really enjoyed it, some people thought it was overrated. And then there was elements of the match, such as the piped-in crowd, Howard Finkel doing introductions to both Randy Orton and Edge. And yeah, there's a lot more for that match. And oh yeah, the match runtime was 44 minutes and 45 seconds is what it was recorded as. Who would like to talk about this match first and state whether this was in fact the greatest wrestling match ever, or is that a load of crap?
Okay, first of all, that's total bullshiznit. That was not the greatest wrestling match ever. I can name 10 of them that were way better than this. And that's not a knock on Randy Orton or Edge. Randy Orton and Edge are like cake and ice cream, spaghetti and meatballs. They'll always be a perfect combination. But I've seen Randy Orton do better. I've seen Edge do better. It was cool to have Howard Finkel do his for them to do the Legends of WrestleMania video game entrance theme. If you played Legends of WrestleMania, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about from the PlayStation 3 days. That was cool, but the whole thing with them dropping the microphone from the MSG from back in the day was too much. The piping crowd noise was too damn much because it was just so much unnecessariness that took away from the actual pretty good wrestling match that Edge and Randy Orton had, in my opinion. Did it live up to the hype? No, absolutely not. It was never going to. I think if you bought into the hype and you say, "Oh wow, that really was the greatest wrestling match ever," please point me into the direction of your local weed distributor because you're nuts. To hear somebody like The Undertaker say, "Oh, that match brought a tear to my eye because it was so good," blows my mind. I'm not trying to disrespect The Undertaker in any way, but I could think of, 5 matches that The Undertaker had better than that match. And again, no disrespect to Edge, no disrespect to Randy Orton. It was a good match, but it wasn't the greatest wrestling match ever. And the outside stuff that they added to it was unnecessary. Charles Robinson wearing the freaking old school referee attire. Why? Okay. Why the piping crowd noise? Why, Howard Finkel? God rest his soul. As great as it was to hear him, it was cool for like 1 second, but then you're like, okay, why? Why not just let Randy Orton and Edge wrestle and tell the story? If anything, when you had Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, which was the best wrestling match of WrestleMania this year with no crowd noise, why not just have Edge and Randy Orton do that? I guarantee you can get the same cool spots and the same ooh and ah and the same emotion from the actual wrestling story that we got from Edge and Randy Orton with no crowd, and it would have been fine than with the piped in crowd noise.
Okay, well, overrated. Overrated. Yes. That is exactly how I felt about the greatest match ever. Yeah. The thing is, the match was good. It dragged for a little bit, but it was actually good. I liked it. It was very much a typical Randy Orton Edge match. And honestly, even if they didn't have all that hype and all that ridiculousness and all that stuff there, they didn't need that. They could have just had it just advertised as just a regular match. And I think people would have rated it a little bit more highly because I thought, it was good. I mean, from my standpoint as a wrestling fan, I watched it and I was just like, okay, this is not bad. I just hated the fact that they called this the greatest wrestling match ever. I mean, really? What are they trying to accomplish with this? I mean, it's like Nico said, there's a ton of matches that probably were much better than that from, a technical standpoint, an emotional standpoint. I don't know. I don't know what WWE was really thinking when they actually did this. I mean, it was just a lot of unnecessary things that they did that they didn't necessarily have to do. Because they could have just advertised this as, it was the main event or something like that. And, and I think people would have rated it a little bit more, a better quality in a sense, but all that, unnecessary bullshit on that, I was not crazy about it. I mean, hell, even the AJ Daniel Bryan match for the IC title, I mean, that could honestly be considered the greatest wrestling match ever. The Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12 with, but Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, that can be considered the greatest wrestling match ever. There's just so many in history that can be considered the greatest wrestling match ever. That is such a great statement that, the fact that they're trying to make this more of a black and white statement, I thought that was just stupid on WWE's part. So a little pipe bomb right there. So WWE, I'm sorry if I say this, but I thought that was really stupid of you to actually do that.
Yeah, that's some words there, wild card. EJV, your thoughts?
Where do I begin here, folks? The match itself, it wasn't, I won't exactly put it as overrated. I'll put it as overhyped. That's exactly what it was. It was overhyped. It was a great match between two of the greatest of all time, between a Hall of Famer and a future Hall of Famer. And, in my opinion, it was a great wrestling match. They told a great story, but it was not the greatest wrestling match ever. To me, Undertaker's Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 25 is the greatest wrestling match ever in my book. But Besides that, they were just, I mean, I loved, like Nico said, I loved hearing Howard Finkel. God bless his soul. I loved hearing that voice again, that from our childhood. But just everything about it, the so many technical and issues with the production, from the camera angles, certain camera angles that didn't need to be there, to the mic dropping, that was kind of a little bit, that's overdone. To just overall, there was a lot of technical issues with this match in itself, with the production. The match itself, like I said, told a great story. Randy and Edge know how to put a match together almost better than anybody, because the two know each other like the back of their hands. I said that in the last episode, that these two would put on a memorable match, and it was a memorable match, but it was nowhere close to what it's been hyped as, and that's the problem. That's a problem that WWE has sometimes, is they'll overhype things, especially these matches, and then they deliver, but they don't deliver as powerfully as they should, and that's kind of it's been a staple. Not I wouldn't say staple, but it's been an issue that WWE's had in the past with matches, building them up to being to this crescendo, and then they don't even reach that. So in closing, it was a great match, but it was definitely not the greatest match ever.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement with you guys.
Yep.
Greatest match of all time, hardly. You know what? I'm gonna go as far as saying Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. In my personal preference, you could argue the technical standpoint or whatever, but I thought that was a better match earlier in the night. I thought I was a little more invested in it. But just kind of like go over my thoughts really quickly. You know, I didn't like the piped-in crowd. I thought that was stupid as hell. I'm like, come on, we see how many people are in the arena. Are there like ghosts like cheering in there or something? Like, oh, and then I just was like, okay, you don't tell me what the greatest match is. You don't tell the fans what the greatest match is. Obviously WWE in the past has hyped saying, oh, this could be, but they didn't like put it in their promotional material saying, oh, this will be the greatest match ever. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels didn't have that. The Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels didn't have that. You can go through various contenders for greatest match ever, and if the match was good, despite my complaints about the piped-in crowd and just the overdoing of the promotion of it, the match was very good. Maybe a little longer than it needed to be, but I mean, I guess they're just trying to sell, Edge and Orton just like putting on, barn burners, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. But, the match was enjoyable, good back and forth. Most of us called it that Randy Orton was going to win the match, and it's kind of setting him up for like some big things. I mean, unfortunately, Edge is out with an injury, so time will tell what will happen. Like now that Edge isn't available.
That's a shame there, yeah.
It is, yeah. But I mean, overall, I would give the match a 7 out of 10. Just my personal opinion. I don't think it's like anywhere near the greatest match, but it was definitely an enjoyable bout. So, not the greatest match ever, but it was enjoyable for what it was. So, yeah.
Greatest match ever, in my opinion, Bret and Shawn, WrestleMania 12.
Yeah, that was a great match.
Yeah.
Me, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, WrestleMania 25, and then, yeah. But anyways,
really
yeah. We're going to get into our next segment, fan favorite segment. It's going to be the cosplayer of the week, or this week it's cosplayers of the week.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be introducing Kia and Steve of their page On the Ring Apron. So they are our first ever featured couples cosplayers in the world of wrestling to be featured on this video, as well as them being new to the Too Sweet Cosplay pages as well. I'll go over this bullet point really quick, just because I could somewhat relate. They debuted their cosplays at WrestleMania 34 and WrestleMania Access. That is the first time those two cosplayed. me and my girlfriend Rocky were at WrestleMania 34 in Access as well. So, who would like to read the next bullet points?
I'll go ahead. Steve started watching wrestling during the mid-1990s, kind of where I kind of started as well. While Kia got into it around 2003. They started watching wrestling together after they had their first son in 2005.
All right, I'll take it here next. All right, so Steve's favorite wrestlers include The Rock, #1 of all time, Naomi, Roman Reigns, Sasha Banks, good choice by the way, Keith Lee, and Bianca Belair.
Kia's favorites include Trish Stratus, Lita, Becky Lynch, Edge, Jeff Hardy, and Seth Rollins.
Right.
Their signature cosplays are The Fiend and Abby the Witch, along with their newly debuted cosplays of Naomi and Jimmy Uso. Who would like to read the special message that they provided to the viewers here?
I guess I'll take it.
Go ahead, Walker.
All right. So, Kia and Steve are a husband and wife duo who host shows on Instagram on Friday nights called On the Ring Apron, as well as have occasional side shows, especially during pay-per-view weekends. Plate exchange questions with the Queen, KWEEN, and another one called Top Rope Spoilers. We are still relatively new to the show part, but have a ton of fun doing them and incorporating our cosplays and live event experiences into it.
All right. So now we're going to cut to some of their cosplays in our famous video packages. So come check this one out.
Catching flies in his mouth, tasting freedom while he dares, then crawling back to the top of the stairs. He won't see the sun again for years to come. It's broken out and
All right. So we are back. That was Kia and Steve of On the Ring Apron. Be sure to follow their social media and give them a look. I'm sure they have some programs this weekend to check out too.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check those guys out. They seem pretty cool, like the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah.
Awesome power couple right there. Awesome wrestling cosplay duos are the coolest people. Yes.
Oh yeah. And don't forget, fellow cosplayers, be sure to submit your cosplay of the week to us by messaging the Too Sweet Cosplay Facebook page, and you might be featured on a future episode.
Send us your stuff.
Please.
Yeah. All right, so we are now on to the main event segment of the week. It's some news that started on this Monday. I mean, it's kind of a continuous theme since the pandemic has broken up, but this is kind of getting to a more hitting home scale. So Monday, WWE Performance Center wrestler has tested positive for COVID-19. Apparently, the talent found out about this news like as early as most of us may have read the story here on social media. So a lot of things are going on. Some TV productions were halted. Some have resumed. Kevin Owens, I guess, has just announced that he is, going to be sitting out for the foreseeable future until things start calming down a bit. But it's a pretty crazy story. So I want to hear your guys' take. Should they kind of just like put production on a halt right now, or should they get more serious with the testing? Like, what do you guys think of this whole situation? Nico, you said you wanted to go first.
Yeah, honestly, geez, 2020 is just a bad year for everybody. Especially the professional wrestling business. Like, if you think about this, whenever this pandemic passes, I don't think it'll be anytime soon. We're already halfway through the year here, but whenever this pandemic finally does pass, how is independent wrestling going to recover from this? Because right now I know WWE isn't an independent promotion, but right now they kind of are, seeing as how they're running all their shows out of one location. But picture this: the way everybody is with this pandemic. Imagine how people are going to be, at independent shows with, like meet and greets. People with the paranoia of wanting to, maintaining social distancing. Now, I'm not calling, our fans or our viewers paranoid because of this pandemic. I'm not doing that at all. I'm just saying there's a percentage of people that when this is all said and over, they're gonna be a little freaked out the first time you step outside of the bubble. Look at what's going on in the state of Florida and the state of Texas. After they just recently reopened. I mean, this is just bad. It's unfortunate for the talent that that tested positive for this COVID-19, the coronavirus. Wish whoever this talent is all the best in a speedy recovery. But it's just bad right now for the entire wrestling business as a whole. I know WWE really wasn't doing much with Kevin Owens storyline wise, but I understand why he's saying no, I need to stay away for the foreseeable future because Kevin has a family to look after, and to think of. So it's just really hard for me as a fan, with everything going on right now in the wrestling business, especially with this pandemic, of how it's really impacting the landscape of the industry.
Thank you for your thoughts. Very good take there, Nico. Who would like to take this one next? BJB?
Sure. This was very concerning when I first read it, because we know how serious this pandemic and the virus itself is. We know how deadly it is. We know how much it could destroy your health. And it was disturbing in a way to know that basically a developmental talent had this virus, and he was with other people in that building. And how do you not test every single person that walks into that building? That's another part of this thing, is that there's a report going around that WWE didn't even start doing full testing until this happened. Example, AEW, and I'm not saying this because I'm an AEW fan or whatever. AEW tests every talent, every member of their production, every lighting crew member, every person who walks into Daly's place in Jacksonville. They check them at the hotel. They test them. They check their temperatures before they even get on the bus or in their car to go to the building. Why is WWE not doing that? That doesn't make any sense. I wish all the best for that talent, whoever he or she is that has the virus, and hopefully for their sake they make a speedy full recovery and no complications happen, as it destroys the lungs, and it's a terrible thing. But to me, I just feel like that this was just, I won't say lackluster, but this was just a critical error that WWE shouldn't have made. They should have been testing all the time right off the bat. I know to try to conserve money, and testing is probably expensive. I'd imagine so. But they need to forward the money. They need to do what they need to do to make sure their talent are 100% safe. And stuff like this, it can't happen. Because all it takes is one person, then it spreads to 2, then it spreads to 4, 8, 16, so on, until the whole freaking roster that's there is infected. So to me, it's just a very critical error that WWE shouldn't have made on their part. And Kevin Owens, as far as him sitting out, I completely understand. He has a family. He's got kids. He's got, a wife to look after, and it sucks. And it sucks KO won't be on our TV screens. But in the end, he's doing what's best for him. He's doing what's best for his health and his family's health. I know the feeling. My parents and my sisters are all immunocompromised. I can't be out there. I can't be out in a big crowd of people because of that reason. So just it sucks that the wrestlers found out as when the fans did. That's just, to me, that's terrible. That's terrible management. That's terrible communication between the talent and management. And to me, that's just something that should have never happened to begin with. And it's very disturbing and very concerning for WWE.
Absolutely agreed. Wildcard, what's your take?
Well, let me ask ask a follow-up question. So it's actually been confirmed that they never tested at all. WWE never tested at all. Anybody that went through?
No. They tested, but they didn't test as frequently as they should.
Okay.
Or they're not testing everybody is what I'm saying, because
Gotcha.
AEW tests all their talent before every show, every taping. Every show, before they walk into that building, they have a wristband on their hand that shows that they took their temperature and it's fine, and another wristband that shows that they tested negative for COVID.
Yeah, and real quick, to kind of
I just needed the clip.
Yeah, my understanding is this: they would test you, but then after a while, like, they didn't test you again. Like, I know they tested the talent for Mania. I know I've had to get tested before my procedures medically. Otherwise, they won't even let me step foot in the hospital if I didn't get tested.
Okay.
The test for COVID-19 is not that big a deal. Some people who have taken it say they find it painful because you're having a Q-tip stuck up your nose. To me, it's not that bad. It wasn't that bad at all. I've dealt with a lot worse. Your eyes water for a few seconds, but other than that, it's not that bad.
Okay.
I think WWE needs to put the money and the resources towards this to have it done every single time. You use a talent or they step into the building. I understand why they're not doing it, but they need to.
Okay, all right. I just needed that clarification on this, just because, man, I don't even know how I'm gonna even start this without feeling pissed off about this, because, for as big and as well known as WWE is, you would think that they would actually give a damn about their talent. And I'm sure they do to a certain extent, but the fact is that that's not professional to not take this virus seriously, because this is serious. This is something that's honestly, like, it's not just affecting their WWE bubble. This is like a whole worldwide thing. And the fact that, WWE is not even testing everybody that walks through those doors in the Performance Center, I think that's just very unprofessional on their part. And I thought that they're just putting everybody else at risk in the process, because, let's face it, nobody is wearing masks at all. Not even anybody in the crowd is even wearing a mask. It's almost like they don't really give a damn about this. At least with AEW, they're actually taking the precautions to test everybody and taking this seriously, because if they were to, like, figure this out, find out who's positive, they would just out them right away and just put them in quarantine. But the fact is, WWE, they should have been doing that same thing. And honestly, that's a little disappointing on their part, because, that they're such a well-known company that you'd think they would actually know what they're doing with their shit. But honestly, it just didn't seem like that was very unprofessional. That was very unprofessional on their part to not even just test everybody. Because I'm actually going to share something with you guys that honestly is something that I feel like that should be shared, because the effects of COVID-19 actually is real. And I got to be honest, I was under this strongest suspicion that I actually did test positive, even though I did not exhibit like a fever or anything like that. But I had the worst possible cough in the world. I essentially had all the symptoms except the fever. So my doctor never really said that it was the virus, but now that we know a little bit more, that's honestly, I'm under the strongest suspicion that maybe I may have had the virus at the time. But fortunately for me, I'm in a younger age, and I've been blessed with a strong immune system. So if that was ever the case, then I was able to recover from really quickly. But long story short, the takeaway message is that if that's what it felt like to actually have COVID-19, then I couldn't imagine what it's like, for those who are immunocompromised to actually suffer from that, who couldn't have like a strong immune system to fight this virus. So, especially in WWE, when you have all the talent that's all around, close to each other, essentially, you're putting everybody at risk, especially without the face masks and everything. So, figured I'd just share that little tidbit with you guys, and just let everyone know, especially all the listeners, of the dangers of this virus and the fact that we shouldn't ignore this at all.
Wow, that's crazy, man. I'm glad that so far, everything's okay with you. Wild card like that, that's scary shit, man. But yeah, just to get to my thoughts on the whole situation, it's very irresponsible if they haven't really been doing the testing like seriously on a regular basis. I mean, I know there's some things, but Mojo Rawley himself posted a video of him getting tested. I don't know if it was his first time or not. It almost felt like, oh, this is a first time thing. If that's really the case, that's just ridiculous. Just like everybody who goes in the Performance Center should be tested. It's crazy not to. I mean, and seeing that someone did have COVID in the Performance Center shows that Roman Reigns is right to be staying home. It shows that Sami Zayn isn't being selfish, just he got stripped of the IC title because he's not going to be performing for the foreseeable future. So I don't blame him. Kevin Owens, I don't blame him either for not going into work. And I hope the WWE doesn't do any punishments for the foreseeable future for anybody who decides they don't want to come to work because of that. I mean, I do appreciate both WWE, AEW, and some of these other wrestling promotions that are opening up, or for the case of Impact, my understanding is they've been open for a while too. I appreciate them providing us entertainment, but I mean, in the end, health first. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't want to see anybody getting COVID because they were out wrestling or whatever. And it's crazy because the WWE was looking to possibly do live touring by the end of this the summertime, and we know that they've actually on Monday on Raw they actually let some of the family and friends of the workers come in to kind of create a more variety fan atmosphere rather than just having wrestlers watch. So that's scary if someone was infected and then now they're going to be facing with family and friends getting sick too. And
like I said, you could still be a carrier without actually exhibiting symptoms. So you're basically putting everybody else at risk in the process.
Absolutely, it's scary stuff, guys. But I don't think they should rush to get back to TV anytime too soon. They could. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I'd rather be safe than sorry if they have to do a few best of Raws, SmackDowns. I mean, I know they may have some contractual obligations to do 205 Live and Main Event. I know 205 Live is just on the network. Main Event, I know, is on channels overseas, so I don't know what their deals are, but if they have to just, make sure everyone, just get the organized roster out. If they find people who are sick, just get them off TV, just get them the right help they need, and then go back to work after they know. Because this is serious business. For the foreseeable future, just make sure everybody is safe and just get back to TV when it's necessary. And this probably will prolong them touring. I mean, that's unfortunate. I love going to live events, but I'd rather be safe than sorry with that stuff. So
this thing, you don't want to mess around with this.
Yeah, just check your priorities, WWE, and just make sure that everything's okay before we continue on with this flight. Yep. So, is there anything else you guys would like to add before we part.
I got one more thing here that I would like to do that I think E and Nico have essentially been grilling me on. So, long story short, there's this little ongoing joke about me not potentially eating a carb.
Screenshot
This is a donut, as you can
Please.
see here. Somebody want to screenshot that? No.
There you go.
There's your carb right there.
Hey, do it again.
Don't mind if I do. See?
Yeah, and we before Steve ends this, I just want to say, coming from a guy who works in the retail industry during this whole pandemic, I want to say real quick thank you to everybody who is currently on the front line still helping out, battling this, from the nurses to the doctors to those delivering food to houses to all the restaurant workers who are still working through this pandemic, and all of my fellow retail workers. Thank you guys for all that you're doing. And we work hard, we bust our ass, and we do it for the reason. We do it for the reason not only to make a living, but we do it because people are counting on us.
Yeah.
And we thank you, all of you guys, for doing what you do, because without you guys, we wouldn't be, the world wouldn't be moving the way it is right now. So
for
peace
somebody
and
who
love to
works,
everybody.
for somebody who works in healthcare myself, I'm very fortunate to even still be working, especially since I'm being potentially exposed to the virus itself. I also have a restaurant background too, with my family owning a restaurant too, so they're still working, fortunately. So the fact that those people are the ones that we should be appreciating, because they're the ones that are still trying to make a living right now, and they're trying while facing these conditions. So though all the healthcare workers, all the restaurant workers, retail workers, you guys are the true heroes right there.
Props to y'all.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear me or see me pretty well. I'm doing this off my phone today. But as somebody who works in the mental health field, if you do need anyone to talk to, there are resources. But if you guys follow us on, social media, Facebook, whatever, send us the message. You are not alone in this. Again, I want to reiterate what my colleagues say. Thank you to the essential workers. I have a sister, you guys know her. Well, she's my cousin, but she's like my sister, my best friend Angie, who is a nurse, who is working on the front lines at the hospital in Munster, Indiana. So please, thank you to the essential workers. If you are struggling with this in any way, shape, or form, you are not alone in this. Again, if you need anyone to talk to about any of this going on, dealing with this pandemic from a mental aspect, please reach out. You're not alone. And
especially considering, with everything that's happened, from a death standpoint, with Shad Gaspard and Hana Kimura, please just, if you need somebody to talk to, reach out. Just even if it's to us or family members, doesn't matter who, just feel free to send us a message. We're here to listen to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yep, definitely. We're all here for you guys. And we're gonna close this one out. Finley's here for you guys too. He says hello. But,
Finley.
But yeah, we're going to close this one out. If you enjoyed our video, please give us a like. Share your thoughts too. We always like a good conversation. So be it YouTube or any of the other pages, we want to hear your thoughts on all these matters too. So be sure to like us on YouTube. Follow us at Too Sweet Cosplay on Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter as well.
All right, guys. Thanks. I'm out, boys.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Y'all see you soon.
Eat your carbs, everybody. Eat your carbs.
Oh, and don't forget, episode 10. I want to relay this out. We have a special idea coming up for this 10th episode. You guys are not going to want to miss this 100%.
Yes, sir.
That's right. All right, everyone.
More information coming this week. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Take care,
Eat
guys.
your carbs.